Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive into something pretty thought-provoking?
Always.
You've probably heard the term New World Order, right?
Oh yeah, it gets thrown around a lot.
And sometimes it can feel like, like something straight out of a conspiracy theory.
Definitely gets that vibe sometimes.
But today, we're going beyond the internet rabbit holes and really exploring what this concept means.
Yeah, getting to the substance of it.
Exactly. So we're taking a deep dive into the New World Order.
Oh, by Dr. Ephraim Oviawe.
That's the one. And we'll be drawing from the book itself. We've also put together a glossary to help us unpack some of the key ideas.
That's helpful. Sometimes these topics can get pretty dense.
Absolutely. Oh, and we might even throw in some pop culture curveballs about the future.
Oh, fun. I love that. Always interesting to see how these ideas show up in unexpected places.
Right. So get ready to explore how this New World Order thing might actually affect your life, and even some strategies for navigating a world that's constantly changing.
Sounds fascinating.
So Dr. Oviawe's book really breaks down this whole idea of a New World Order, a centralized system of global governance, basically.
Where a powerful elite is in control.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it gets into the potential plans, strategies, and even the impact such a system could have.
He goes pretty in depth, huh?
Oh, yeah. But it all starts with looking back at history. I mean, the idea of a small group holding a ton of power, that's not exactly a new concept.
True. That's been a theme throughout history, hasn't it?
Totally. Think about ancient empires and powerful rulers.
Right, like ancient Egypt or Rome. Those are classic examples of powerful elites controlling vast populations.
It's a pattern that keeps repeating itself.
It really does. And of course, you can't forget about all the secret societies.
Oh yeah, those always add a layer of intrigue.
The Freemasons, the Illuminati, shrouded in mystery, often blamed for pulling the strings behind the scenes.
Like something out of a Dan Brown novel.
Exactly.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Dr. Oviawe connects these historical examples to major events like the Treaty of Westphalia,
Oh, wow.
the formation of the UN, and even the creation of the European Union.
Interesting. So he's saying these events represent shifts toward more centralized forms of governance.
That's right. And by understanding this historical context, we can start to make sense of the modern concept of a New World Order.
Okay, I see what he's doing.
It's not just a wild theory, it's rooted in centuries of power dynamics.
You think, doesn't it?
Definitely does. And speaking of power dynamics, Dr. Oviawe's book goes deep on the methods of control that could be at play.
Like how this elite group would actually maintain their power.
Exactly. One chapter that really grabbed me was economic manipulation.
Oh, that's a big one.
He uses this analogy of a puppeteer controlling the strings of the global economy,
Oh, I like that.
highlighting how institutions like central banks could have a huge influence.
Right, because they control things like the money supply and interest rates.
And even inflation.
And for the average person, that translates to prices at the grocery store.
And the interest rates on loans.
It all trickles down, doesn't it?
It really does. And then there's the issue of debt, which Dr. Oviawe argues can be used to trap nations.
Oh, it's a scary thought.
Right. He even uses examples like the IMF imposing austerity measures on countries struggling to repay their loans.
Oh, yeah, I've read about that.
Those measures often lead to cuts in things like healthcare, education, and social welfare programs.
It's a vicious cycle.
It is. So we've talked about economic control, but the book also gets into some unsettling stuff about surveillance and data collection.
That's a big concern for a lot of people these days.
Have you ever had that feeling like you're being watched online?
Oh, all the time.
Dr. Oviawe suggests that might not just be paranoia.
Seriously.
Seriously. With advancements in technology, we're talking about digital tracking, biometric identification, AI monitoring.
It's kind of creepy when you think about it.
It is. And then there's the media. Dr. Oviawe argues that concentrated media ownership can shape the narratives we consume.
Which influences public opinion.
And even sways political outcomes.
Think about it. If a small group controls most of the news outlets and social media platforms, they have a lot of power over the information we see.
It's unsettling, isn't it?
Big time.
And this brings us to Dr. Oviawe's chapter on the agenda, where he lays out some pretty bold claims about this elite group's goals.
Okay, lay it on me. What kind of goals are we talking about?
Well, we're talking about things like global governance, which could mean the erosion of national sovereignty.
As power shifts toward international bodies.
Exactly.
That's a big shift.
And that's just the beginning. The book also delves into controversial topics like population control,
Population control. Wow, okay.
suggesting that health policies, genetic engineering, even reproductive rights management could all play a role in shaping population trends.
Wow, he's not holding back.
Nope. And of course, we can't forget about the role of technology.
Oh, of course. That's a huge factor in all of this.
Dr. Oviawe argues that advancements in communication technology, the Internet of Things, even transhumanism,
Merging humans with machines.
right, could all be part of this agenda.
It's like a science fiction movie coming to life.
It kind of is.
Ah,
And he really makes you think about the implications of these technologies.
yeah, both the good and the bad.
Exactly. These are powerful tools, and it's all about how they're used.
And who gets to use them?
Right. Dr. Oviawe challenges us to consider the ethical side of all this and how it might shape our future.
It's definitely a lot to think about.
I know, right? It can get a little overwhelming, all this New World Order talk.
It's heavy stuff.
But here's the thing that I found really encouraging. Dr. Oviawe doesn't just leave us with a sense of doom and gloom.
Yeah, he doesn't just say, hey, the world's going to hell in a handbasket.
Exactly. He actually offers strategies for not just surviving,
But thriving.
yes, thriving in this potential New World Order.
So he's not just all doom and gloom.
Not at all. And it all starts with awareness.
Okay, so the more we know.
The better equipped we'll be to handle all this complex stuff.
Makes sense.
Dr. Oviawe really stresses the importance of education, critical thinking.
And media literacy.
Oh, that's a big one. Being able to tell fact from fiction.
And not just accepting everything you see at face value.
Exactly. So it's like taking back control of the information we consume.
Right, right. You're bombarded with information these days.
We are, from all directions.
So you gotta be discerning.
Absolutely. And it's not just about information, it's about financial independence too.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Dr. Oviawe talks about diversifying our assets.
Not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Right. Striving for self-sufficiency.
Being able to take care of yourself.
Exactly. And even exploring alternative economic models.
Ones that aren't so reliant on these big centralized systems.
Which is interesting because it makes me think about how much we rely on those systems now.
For everything.
Think about banking, our food supply.
It's all connected.
It is. Maybe a little more self-reliance wouldn't hurt.
I think a lot of people are starting to realize that.
I think so too.
There's definitely a trend toward wanting more control over your own life.
There is. And of course, we can't forget about the digital world.
Oh, that's a whole other can of worms.
Dr. Oviawe emphasizes the importance of digital security in this day and age.
Yeah, I mean, everything's connected now.
So safeguarding our personal information,
Strong passwords, two-factor authentication.
practicing good cybersecurity habits.
Don't click on those suspicious links.
Don't. And be cautious about what we share online.
It's all about protecting your digital footprint.
It is. But here's something Dr. Oviawe talks about that I found really interesting. He advocates for physical preparedness too.
Physical preparedness.
It might seem a little old school.
Like prepping for a zombie apocalypse or something.
Kind of. But he has a point. Maintaining your health and fitness learning self-defense techniques.
Oh, okay. So like being able to handle yourself in a tough situation.
Yeah, and just having some basic emergency preparedness skills could be really valuable.
Especially if those traditional systems we rely on get disrupted.
Exactly. It's like that saying, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst.
Wise words.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, from the historical roots of power dynamics to some pretty unsettling scenarios.
Yeah, we've gone deep.
But we've also explored some strategies for dealing with all of this and feeling empowered.
Feeling like you can actually do something.
Right. Now, for a little fun, let's shift gears and look at how some of these ideas have shown up in pop culture,
Oh, I like where this is going.
specifically in predictions about the future.
Okay, so like how has this whole New World Order concept been reflected in movies and TV shows and stuff?
Exactly.
Well,
It's fascinating how these themes pop up in unexpected places.
it's like our collective anxieties and hopes about the future.
Exactly. Okay, are you ready for this? Remember The Simpsons?
Oh, yeah. The show that predicts everything.
That's the one. They've gotten a lot of things right. Trump's presidency, the Ebola outbreak, smartwatches.
It's kind of freaky, actually.
It is. It's like they have a crystal ball over there in Springfield.
Yeah.
But there are some predictions that haven't come true yet,
Like what?
like colonizing Mars holographic meal mind control devices.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Those are some big ones.
Right. It makes you wonder if those are just flights of fancy or if they might actually be glimpses into our future.
Maybe they're just ahead of their time.
Maybe. And some of these predictions, especially the ones about technology, tie in really well with the themes in Dr. Oviawe's book.
Yeah, the potential for both good and bad outcomes.
The impact on privacy and autonomy.
It's all there.
It really is. And it's not just The Simpsons. Classic literature tackles these themes too.
Oh, like what?
1984, Brave New World, even Asimov's robot stories.
Wow, some heavy hitters.
Right. They all deal with things like surveillance, social control, the role of technology in our lives.
Those are some pretty deep themes.
They are. And I think these stories, whether they're meant to be funny or serious, reflect our anxieties about where we're headed.
As a species.
Exactly. By engaging with these stories, we can start conversations about the future we want to create.
That's a good point.
But it's crucial to remember that these are just predictions.
Right, not guarantees.
We have to be critical thinkers. We can't just blindly accept everything we see or read, especially with these complex topics.
Especially in the age of misinformation.
So true. It's all about being discerning and seeking out reliable information.
And forming your own informed opinions.
Exactly. You know, this deep dive has definitely given me a lot to think about.
Me too. Dr. Oviawe really challenges you to look at the world with a critical eye.
He does. And I think that's one of the most valuable things we can take away from all of this.
I agree.
It's easy to get caught up in all the doom and gloom when you're talking about the New World Order stuff.
Yeah, it can get pretty heavy.
But I really appreciate that Dr. Oviawe doesn't just paint a bleak picture.
Yeah, he doesn't just leave you hanging.
He offers a roadmap for how we can not only survive, but actually thrive.
Even if some of these scenarios come true.
Exactly. It's about realizing that even if there are forces beyond our control, we still have choices.
We have agency.
We do. We can shape our own lives and influence our communities.
It's empowering, isn't it?
It is. So it's not about surrendering to fate.
It's about being proactive.
Exactly. And Dr. Oviawe lays out some practical steps we can take.
Like what?
Well, he talks about building stronger local communities, fostering self-sufficiency, embracing sustainable practices.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's about empowering ourselves on a personal level while also creating more resilient systems.
So it's like taking those old school values of community and resourcefulness
and applying them to today's challenges.
I like that.
Me too. And I think those values resonate with a lot of people these days.
I think so too. You see this growing movement toward localism, sustainability, community building.
It's like people are craving connection and more control over their lives.
Especially in a world that feels so overwhelming and impersonal sometimes.
Absolutely. So it's about finding that balance.
Being aware of the big picture, but also focusing on what we can control.
In our own lives and communities.
And that's what I appreciate about Dr. Oviawe's book. He doesn't just present a problem.
He offers solutions.
A way to navigate all of this with hope and agency.
Right. So for anyone listening who might be feeling overwhelmed by this New World Order talk.
I know it can be a lot.
It can. Takeaway is not fear or paralysis.
It's about empowerment.
Exactly. Knowledge is power.
The more you understand, the better choices you can make.
And that's how we create a more positive future for ourselves and for future generations.
So what's the best way for people to learn more?
If you're ready to dive deeper, I highly recommend checking out Dr. Ephraim Oviawe's book, The New World Order.
It's a really insightful read.
It will definitely make you think.
And who knows, it might even inspire you to take action.
To help shape a future that aligns with your values.
It's all about taking those first steps.
This has been a fascinating exploration, and I want to thank you for joining us on this journey.
It's been a pleasure.
The future isn't set in stone.
We create it together.
So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep believing in a better world.